Okay, old business. Old business item 1. We're back to discussion of duplex and multifamily. Lisa, do you want to start this off with?
Justin was also nice enough to supply us with maps. We're also given a table that's about 10 pages that has plat and lot, what the use is, as well as the size of the parcel. And we don't necessarily need that, and I apologize for going in the packet. It's just I had put it on Cindy's desk inadvertently with the other information. So if it's useful to you in looking up certain lots, that's great. Otherwise, I'm not really sure that you need it. The 2 maps that you do have show 2 things. One, we were looking, this is just the R20 district that shows in the colored lots, and we were questioning, number 1, how many 20,000 square foot lots they were, and then also we just kind of did a breakdown below that, you know, just to show you the different size of the lots. There was also a question as, you know, there may be a question as to which lots were developed, which lots were not. So the second map shows you that. It's based on the state code in our tax assessors database, which is also in our GIS system. So categories may seem a bit strange to you, but what you really need to be concerned with is, you know, obviously if it's single family to 5 family apartments or commercial, you're looking at a developed piece of property. The 2 categories, 1300 and 1400, residential vacant and commercial vacant, are obviously vacant pieces of property. So really what this was intended to do was just to show you which properties were developed and which ones were not, and what the use of the property was. So I think in that regard it is helpful, although there's probably a little bit more information than we need on there.
I have a question. What is seasonal and beach? And some of them are nowhere near the water.
I think that's that is seasonal use of a property.
Seasonal use.
Right.
How is that information captured? How do we know that? You know.
That's based, I mean, based on 2 things. One would be the data that we get from probably the census, and the other one is the assessment. You know, when they do the assessments or appraisals for and they go and they look at the houses, they would know that.
So if a house did not have central heat, it might be considered seasonal?
Right, right. Or it's not the primary address, and they've claimed that it's not a permanent residence. If their permanent residence is elsewhere.
So it's not necessarily the characteristics of the house, it's how the present owner is using it.
It could be either or. Right.
Okay, so now we're back then to the original question is looking at part 20. Where should we allow multifamily houses to be constructed? And
I forgot my file upstairs. I'm going to run up and get it. Please continue talking.
And what are the parameters for multifamily? How big, how small? Where, how many units?
I was sort of going through the comprehensive plan, and I had some questions that really partly are for Lisa, so I want to wait on some of this till when she comes back. But there are a couple things in the comprehensive plan that indicate that at least when that plan was being devised, multifamily housing had not even, the thought was not about R20, and the idea was to extend duplexes into CL and into the R8 area. So it was, at least the comprehensive plan was a little behind in that thinking, and I'm wondering, again, whether we should be looking at updating our comprehensive plan and investigating these things as an overall point of view before we go forward. But I do want to wait until Lisa's back on some of this. The other thing I will say too is that I've been looking at build-out tables, and the recommendation of those doing the comprehensive plan on understanding what the effect of increasing density would be on the current build-out projections and therefore the resources of the town as we do changes in the ordinance. And it seems to me we haven't even captured any idea of what the effect of what we've done already would be on the build-out tables, and I'm wondering if we ought to be doing that.
What do you think the bottom line is on the build-out? Do you know that number?
Well, the build-out as of 1999 or 2000 was an estimated, in 2000 the population was 5622. So does anybody know what it is now?
I'll guess 66.
Okay. And then the additional build-out was 2696. So they were projecting 8318 as the total population build-out based on 2000 ordinance numbers and on the 2000 census. And most of that was coming from other areas aside from the village area. Obviously the village area was contributing, but there was less room for development. And since a lot of what we've done affected the village area, we will be impacting those build-out numbers. It seemed to me we ought to be looking at that simply because, people are complaining about, people complain anyway, and maybe that's not significant, but about parking and about, congestion and about this, that, and the other thing. But the recommendation really was to be aware and looking into the impact of ordinance changes on build-out as we go, so that we're not just blindly adding to the density without really knowing where we're headed. So since we haven't done that with any of the affordable housing, with any of the duplex numbers we've just come up with, it seems to me that would be a valuable thing to do.
Well, I find that kind of reassuring because none of those numbers not even approach 10,000 under anybody's scenario.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah, yeah. Lisa, I was kind of waiting for you to come back, but I've been going through the comprehensive plan a little bit just to find out more about this conversation we were having about building projections and so forth. And I came up with, I found the build-out numbers that Mike just asked about, which was what's the population according to the comprehensive plan, what are the build-out numbers. My concern was that we haven't even investigated what we've done already has affected build-out numbers, and wondering if we ought to do that before we go forward, adding another layer of housing to the R20 area, which is what we would probably do, I would imagine, in a comprehensive plan update. One of the things I looked at, and I don't really, this is my question for you, it did certain things, like it mentioned the description of moderate high density, which I believe was an R20 description, and it says this district is designated to allow controlled residential growth in areas immediately outside the village that are served by municipal water and sewer. This area is appropriate for single-family residential, which they defined as maximum 2.18 dwelling units per acre, and specially approved multifamily residential, maximum 2.6 dwelling units per acre. And I wasn't sure whether that 2.6 number was an overall added to the entire population of the district, or whether 2.6 was really a way of limiting what they meant by multifamily.
2.6 dwelling units per acre. When you talk about density, you're talking about generally per acre. So you're not looking at overall density of a whole district. You're looking at a specific targeted area.
So per acre would be two 20,000 square foot lots.
For 1 acre lot.
A 1 acre lot, but at 20,000 square feet, that would be the potential for two 20,000 square foot lots. And the dwelling number, the maximum number of dwelling units is 2.6, which doesn't even approach 3. So I wasn't quite sure what that meant, how you had multifamily residential if 2.6 was the maximum. How did that work?